The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Indomitable. Red lights flashed across every screen. Captain Hyun-woo stood from his chair and walked toward the main display. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The image on the screen made his stomach tight, a distress signal. Not from Earth, not from any human colony. This signal came from somewhere far away, from aliens he had never met. "Captain, we're picking up a Galactic Council emergency broadcast," said Ji-won from her station. She was his first officer, reliable and smart. Her fingers moved quickly across her controls. "It's coming from a system called Veteris Prime." Hyun-woo crossed his arms. "Play it." Static filled the bridge. Then, a voice, translated by their computers into words he could understand. The voice was high and musical. Nothing like a human voice. Fear made it shake. "This is Veteris Prime to any ships in range. The hive has entered our system. Our defenses are falling. We have 48 hours. Maybe less. The Council fleet cannot reach us in time. We are 3 million souls. Please, anyone, help us." The message ended. Silence filled the bridge. Hyun-woo felt every pair of eyes turn toward him. His crew waited for orders. "How far?" he asked. Taemin, the chief engineer, checked his screens. He was young but brilliant with machines. 17 hours at maximum quantum speed, sir. But we'd be pushing the drive hard. Real hard. "We're on patrol duty, Captain," Ji-won said quietly. "Earth Command gave us specific orders. Survey the outer rim. Report back in 3 weeks. They said nothing about responding to Council distress calls. Hyun-woo knew she was right. Earth was not part of the Galactic Council. The Council had made that clear when humanity first reached the stars 50 years ago. Humans were too young, they said. Too violent. Too unpredictable. "Come back in a few hundred years," they said. "Maybe then you'll be civilized enough." So Earth had stayed out of galactic politics. Human ships kept to human space. The Council kept to theirs. That was the rule. "Sir, we should report this to command and continue our patrol," Ji-won added. She wasn't being cruel. She was being practical. That's why he trusted her. Hyun-woo closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered being 12 years old. The Mars colony, where he grew up, had a reactor failure. The colonists sent distress signals for 6 hours. 6 hours of begging for help. No one came. By the time rescue ships arrived, half the colony was dead. His parents were among them. He opened his eyes. "How long until the hive reaches Veteris Prime?" he asked. 48 hours, according to the message, said Sung-ho from Tactical. He was calm. Always calm. Even when discussing death. "If we leave now, we'd arrive with 31 hours to spare." "Captain," Ji-won stood up. Her voice was firm now. "If we disobey orders and take the ship out of our patrol zone, you could face court-martial. Your career would be over." "Noted," Hyun-woo said. He turned to face his crew. "Anyone else want to tell me why we should leave 3 million people to die?" No one spoke. "The hive doesn't negotiate," he continued. "They don't take prisoners. They consume everything. Every man, woman, and child on that colony will be torn apart and fed to those monsters. And we're the closest ship." "We're not part of the Council," Ji-won said. "This isn't our fight. They're people," Hyun-woo said simply. "That makes it our fight." He walked back to his captain's chair and sat down. His decision was made. He could feel the weight of it, heavy on his shoulders. But it was the right weight, the kind his parents would have wanted him to carry. Tae-min, prepare the quantum drive for maximum speed. Sung-ho, plot a course to Veteris Prime. Yuna, run a full weapons check. I want every railgun loaded and ready. Hana, prepare the medical bay for casualties. Around the bridge, his crew began to work. They moved quickly, efficiently. They didn't argue anymore. They trusted him. That trust felt heavier than the decision itself. Ji-won remained standing. "Captain, I have to officially note my objection to this course of action." "Noted and logged," Hyun-woo said. He looked at her. But you're still my first officer. I need you with me on this. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly and returned to her station. Understood, sir. I'll send a message to Earth Command explaining our situation. Make it clear this was my decision alone, Hyunwoo said. If there's punishment coming, it lands on me. With respect, sir. We're all part of this crew, said Taemin without looking up from his console. What happens to you happens to all of us. Several crew members nodded. Hyunwoo felt something warm in his chest. Pride? Maybe. Or gratitude. Quantum drive is charging, Taemin reported. We'll be ready to jump in 10 minutes. Ah, Hyunwoo pulled up the star charts on his personal screen. Vitaris Prime was far from Earth, deep in Council space. The Indomitable was Earth's newest and strongest warship, but it was still just one ship. One human ship against the Hive. The Hive had destroyed entire civilizations. They moved through space like locusts, consuming worlds and moving on. Council fleets had fought them for decades with mixed success. What could one human ship do? But he thought of those 3 million people. He thought of children huddled with their parents, looking up at the sky, waiting for help that might never come. He thought of being 12 years old, waiting in the dark, the air running out, hoping someone would care enough to try. Drive charged and ready, Captain, Taemin announced. All stations report ready, Ji-won added. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. Take us to quantum speed. Destination: Vitaris Prime. The Indomitable hummed with power. The ship's quantum drive bent space around them. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines of light, then they were moving faster than light itself, racing toward a battle they might not survive. In the captain's chair, Hyunwoo felt calm. This was right. This was what humans did. When someone called for help, they answered. It didn't matter if those people were strangers. It didn't matter if they'd never wanted humans around in the first place. What mattered was that someone had to try. 17 hours to Vitaris Prime, Ji-won said quietly. 17 hours to save 3 million lives. Or 17 hours until the Indomitable and her crew joined them in death. Either way, Hyunwoo thought. They would not die wondering if they could have made a difference. They would not die with that question burning in their hearts. The Indomitable raced through the darkness between stars, carrying Earth's answer to a desperate prayer. The Indomitable dropped out of quantum space, and hell greeted them. Hyunwoo gripped the arms of his captain's chair as the view screen filled with chaos. Vitaris Prime hung in space like a wounded animal. The planet's orbital stations were burning. Debris floated everywhere. Pieces of ships and structures tumbling through the void. And surrounding it all, like a swarm of angry insects, were the Hive ships. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Sweet mother of... Taemin whispered from engineering. The Hive ships looked nothing like human or council vessels. They were organic, grown rather than built. Each one resembled a massive insect or crustacean, their hulls chitinous and dark. They moved with disturbing grace, flowing through space like sharks through water. Tactical report, Hyunwoo ordered, forcing his voice to stay calm. Sung-ho's fingers flew across his console. I count 47,000 Hive vessels of various sizes. The planet's shields are at 30% and failing. There are evacuation ships trying to launch, but the Hive is intercepting them. On the screen, Hyunwoo watched a civilian transport break free from the planet's atmosphere. It was slow and clumsy, packed with refugees. 3 Hive ships peeled off from the main swarm and descended on it like wolves. The transport shields flared bright, then collapsed. The ship broke apart. There were no survivors. Council fleet status? Hyunwoo asked through gritted teeth. 7 ships remaining from what looks like an original fleet of 30, Sung-ho reported. They're in full retreat. Wait. We're being hailed. On screen, the view screen shifted. A reptilian face appeared, covered in green scales and scars. Yellow eyes glared at Hyunwoo with something between anger and exhaustion. This was Admiral Velthar of the Korvax Empire, one of the Council's founding members. Human vessel. Velthar's voice was a low growl. You have no authorization to be here. This is council space. Withdraw immediately. We received the distress signal, Hyunwoo said. We came to help. Velthar's eyes widened slightly. Help? You are one ship. One primitive human ship. The hive will tear you apart in minutes. I have lost 23 ships already. Retreat while you can. What about the evacuation? Hyunwoo pointed at the planet on his screen. How many people are still down there? 2.4 million, Velthar said. His voice carried defeat. We cannot save them. The hive has orbital superiority. Every transport we launch is destroyed. This battle is lost, human. There is no shame in retreat. We don't retreat, Hyunwoo said. Not while there are people who need saving. Velthar stared at him. You would throw away your life and your crew for aliens you have never met? For people who never accepted you into the council? Yes, Hyunwoo said simply. For a moment, Velthar said nothing. Then something like respect flickered across his reptilian features. You are either very brave or very stupid, human. Perhaps both. But I will not order my remaining ships to die beside you. We retreat. May your gods show you more mercy than mine have shown me. The transmission ended. Sir, the council fleet is jumping out, Ji-won reported. We're alone. Hyunwoo stood. Sung-ho. Find me the Hive Command ships. The big ones. Coordinating the swarm. On it. Sung-ho's screen filled with data. I've identified 17 potential command bioships. They're larger than the others, positioned throughout the swarm in a coordination pattern. Yuna, target the closest 3. Load tungsten rods. Yuna, the weapons officer, grinned. She was young and fierce, always eager for a fight. Tungsten rods loaded, Captain. Ready to fire. Taemin, give me everything you've got. Divert power from life support if you have to. Already on it, Taemin replied. You'll have full power for 10 minutes. After that, things get dicey. 10 minutes, Hyunwoo said. Then we'd better make them count. G1. Send a message to the planet. Tell them to hold the line. Help has arrived. Sir, they're asking who we are, G1 said after a moment. Tell them we're from Earth. Tell them humans don't abandon people in need. The Indomitable turned toward the swarm. One ship against thousands. Hyunwoo knew the odds. He knew this was probably suicide. But he thought of that civilian transport breaking apart. He thought of millions of people huddled in bunkers below, listening to their shields fail, waiting for death. All weapons, fire. The Indomitable unleashed hell. Railguns roared to life, hurling tungsten rods at incredible speeds. Council weapons used energy beams and plasma. Human weapons used kinetic force, old-fashioned and brutal. The rods struck the first Hive command ship at a fraction of light speed. The effect was devastating. The command ship simply shattered, pieces of it flying in every direction. The smaller Hive ships around it seemed to freeze, confused by the sudden loss of their coordinator. Target 2, firing, Yuna called out. More railgun rounds. Another command ship exploded. Target 3, firing. The third command ship tried to dodge, but it was too slow. The tungsten rods punched through its organic hull like paper. It died, spinning, leaking fluids into space. Around the Indomitable, the Hive swarm reacted. Thousands of ships turned toward this new threat. They moved as one. A tide of chitinous death. Incoming fire, Sung-ho warned. Lots of it. The Indomitable's shields flared as Hive bioweapons struck them. Acid sprays, organic missiles, and strange energy beams hammered the ship from all sides. The bridge shook. Shields at 70%, G1 reported. 60%. 50%. Keep firing, Hyunwoo ordered. Yuna, I need you to thin that swarm. On it, Yuna switched targets, firing at the smaller Hive ships now. Each railgun burst took down multiple targets. The Hive ships were tough, but they couldn't withstand direct kinetic impacts. Captain, I'm reading something, Sung-ho said urgently. The planet's defenses. They're coming back online. On the view screen, the orbital defense platforms that had been offline suddenly lit up. They began firing at the hive ships surrounding the planet. It wasn't much, but it created breathing room. They're launching evacuation transports again, Ji-won said. 12 ships breaking atmosphere. Cover them, Hyun-woo commanded. Sung-ho. Plot intercept courses for any hive ships that go after those transports. The Indomitable moved between the evacuation ships and the hive swarm. It was like standing in front of a tidal wave, but they held. More railgun fire. More hive ships dying. Shields at 30%, Ji-won called out. Hull breaches on deck 7. Seal it off, Hyun-woo said. Taemin, how's the drive? Holding, but barely. Taemin's voice was strained. We're burning through power cells faster than I can route them. Keep us in the fight for 5 more minutes. I'll give you 6, Taemin promised. The bridge shook again. Sparks flew from a console. Hana's voice came over the comm system. Medical bay to bridge. We have casualties. Hull breach on deck 7 was worse than reported. I need teams down here now. Sending security teams to help, Ji-won responded. Hyun-woo watched the tactical display. More evacuation ships were launching. 20 now. 30. The Indomitable's presence had bought them time. But the hive was adapting. More ships were breaking off from the main swarm, converging on the Indomitable. Captain, we can't hold this position much longer, Ji-won said quietly. We hold until those transports are clear, Hyun-woo said. Sir, we're being hailed again, Sung-ho said. It's Admiral Velthar. On screen, Velthar's face appeared. Behind him, Hyun-woo could see his ship's bridge, damaged and sparking. Human captain, the Admiral said. You actually did it. You stopped the swarm's advance. You bought time for the evacuation. We're not done yet, Hyun-woo said. No, Velthar agreed. You are not. He paused. My fleet is jumping back in. We will not let you fight alone. Admiral, your ships are damaged. Silence, Velthar growled. You have shamed us, human. We ran while you stood and fought. We abandoned our own people while you, an outsider, defended them. No more. The Korvax fleet returns to battle. The transmission ended. Moments later, 7 council ships dropped out of quantum space around the Indomitable. They were battered and burning. But they opened fire on the hive swarm. Hyun-woo felt something in his chest. Not pride exactly, something else. Connection, maybe. All ships. Coordinate fire, he ordered. Over the open channel. We hold this line together. We. 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 We hold this line together, and they did. 3 hours had passed since the council fleet returned to the fight. 3 hours that felt like 3 years. The Indomitable looked like it had been through a war. Because it had. Hull breaches covered decks 7 through 12. Emergency force fields held the void at bay. But they wouldn't last forever. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The lights flickered. The air tasted like smoke and fear. But they were still in the fight. Shields at 15%, Ji-won reported. Her voice was hoarse from shouting orders. Captain, we can't take much more of this. Hyun-woo nodded. He knew. Everyone on the bridge knew. The Indomitable was dying by inches. But so was the hive swarm. Bodies of dead hive ships floated through space by the hundreds. The evacuation was 80% complete. 80% meant 2.4 million people were safe, or getting there. It also meant nearly 500,000 people were still waiting to die. How many transports still on the ground? Hyun-woo asked. 15, Sung-ho answered. They're loading the last refugees now. They'll launch in 10 minutes. Can we hold for 10 minutes? Hyun-woo looked at his first officer. Ji-won checked her screens. Honestly? I don't know, sir. The Indomitable shuddered as another wave of hive bioweapons struck its weakening shields. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. Somewhere below, Hana and her medical team were operating on dying crew members with equipment that barely worked. Contact from Admiral Velthar, Sung-ho announced. Put him through. Velthar's scarred face appeared on screen. He looked exhausted. Behind him, his bridge was a disaster. Human captain, my fleet cannot sustain this battle much longer. I have lost 2 more ships. The others are critically damaged. Can you cover the last transports? Hyunwoo asked. We will try, Velthar said. But there is something else. Sensors have detected a massive quantum signature approaching. Something very large is coming. How large? The size of a small moon, Velthar said quietly. It is a hive queen. Silence filled the bridge of the Indomitable. Everyone had heard stories about hive queens. They were rare, but when they appeared, entire star systems fell. A queen was not just another ship. It was the living heart of the swarm, the intelligence that commanded millions of drones. How long until it arrives? Hyunwoo asked. 8 minutes, Velthar said. When it does, we are all dead. I am ordering my fleet to retreat. We will cover the transports as long as we can. But when the Queen arrives, we run. I suggest you do the same. We know W. What about the people still on the ground? Velthar's yellow eyes met Hyunwoo's. I am sorry, truly. But we cannot fight a queen. No one can. Those people are already dead. The transmission ended. Hyunwoo sat very still in his captain's chair. Around him, his crew waited for orders. They trusted him. They had followed him across the galaxy to save strangers. They had fought for 3 hours against impossible odds, and now he had to decide if they would all die here. Taemin, he said quietly. Status of the quantum drive? Offline, Taemin replied. It burned out an hour ago. I can't fix it without dry dock repairs. So they couldn't run even if they wanted to. The Indomitable was trapped in this system. Could you overload it? Hyunwoo asked. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. Jiwon's eyes widened. Captain, you can't be serious. Could you? Hyunwoo repeated, looking at Taemin. The engineer slowly nodded. Yes. If I overload the quantum core, it would create a massive explosion. Big enough to damage or destroy a hive queen, but someone would have to stay behind to trigger it manually. The remote systems are fried. How long would it take to set up? 5 minutes, maybe 6. 8 minutes until the queen arrived. 6 minutes to prepare the bomb. 2 minutes to evacuate. It wasn't enough time. Someone had to stay behind. Hyunwoo stood up. Everyone get to the escape pods. That's an order. No, Ji-won said. That wasn't a suggestion, Commander. With respect, sir. No. Ji-won stood as well. You brought us here. You taught us that we don't abandon people in need. Did you think we would abandon you? This is my decision, Hyunwoo said. My responsibility. I gave the order to come here. I'll pay the price. We all gave that order, Yuna said from her weapons station. We all stayed. We knew the risks. The kid's right, Taemin added. You can court-martial us later, Captain. But right now, we're not going anywhere. Hyunwoo looked at each of them. His crew. His family. They were all young. Too young to die in a place so far from home. He wanted to order them to leave. He wanted to lock them in the escape pods himself if he had to, but he saw the determination in their eyes. They had made their choice. Sir, Sung-ho said urgently. I'm picking up multiple quantum signatures. Big ones. More ships jumping in. Council reinforcements? Ji-won asked. No, Sung-ho stared at his screen. They're broadcasting Earth ID codes. It's our fleet. It's Earth Command. The view screen shifted to show new arrivals dropping out of quantum space. 20 human warships, fresh and undamaged. At their head was the Defiant, Earth's second flagship. The sight made Hyunwoo's throat tight. We're being hailed, Sung-ho said. Put them through. A man's face appeared on the screen. Commodore Dae-jung, commander of Earth's Second Fleet. He was older than Hyun-woo, gray at the temples. With eyes that had seen too many battles, he smiled grimly. Hyun-woo, Dae-jung said, you started a fight without inviting the rest of us. That's just rude. Sir, how did you? You sent a message to Earth Command explaining your unauthorized mission. Did you think we'd just let you face this alone? Dae-jung shook his head. We're humans, Captain. When one of us answers a call for help, we all do. There's a hive queen incoming, Hyun-woo warned. ETA 6 minutes. We know, Dae-jung said. Sensors picked her up on approach. That's why we brought the heavy guns. All ships. This is Commodore Dae-jung. We're implementing Protocol Defiant. Target the Queen when she arrives. No holding back. No retreat. We end this here. Around the Indomitable, the Earth fleet moved into formation. Ships that were whole and strong, ready to fight. Hyun-woo felt something he hadn't felt in hours. Hope, Captain Hyun-woo, Dae-jung continued. Get your people to safety. Let us handle the Queen. Sir, the Indomitable is combat capable. Hyun-woo lied. We can still fight. Dae-jung raised an eyebrow. Your ship is held together with prayers and desperation. I can see the hull breaches from here. Get your crew to the transports. That's an order. With respect, sir. That wasn't a request, Captain. Dae-jung's voice hardened. You've done enough. You held the line when no one else would. You saved millions of lives. Now let someone else take the next watch. Your crew has earned their rest. Hyun-woo wanted to argue. But he looked around his bridge. At Ji-won, whose uniform was torn and blood-stained. At Tae-min, who had worked miracles to keep the ship running. At Yuna and Sung-ho, who had fought with everything they had. At all of them, they had earned their rest. Understood, Commodore, Hyun-woo said. Thank you, Captain, for reminding us what it means to be human. Now get your people home safe. We'll finish this. The transmission ended. Hyun-woo turned to his crew. You heard the Commodore. All hands. Abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. Move. This time, no one argued. They were too tired to argue. They filed off the bridge quickly, efficiently, heading for the pod bays. Ji-won was the last to leave. She paused at the door. Sir, are you coming? Hyun-woo looked around his bridge one last time. His ship, his command. It hurt to leave her. But Dae-jung was right. They had done enough. Right behind you, Commander. Together, they left the bridge of the Indomitable. Behind them, automated systems kept the ship running. Ahead of them, escape pods waited to carry them to safety. And above them, 20 human ships formed a wall between the Hive Queen and the people they had sworn to protect. The battle was far from over. But for the first time in 3 hours, Hyun-woo believed they might actually win. The escape pod was cramped and cold. Hyun-woo sat strapped into his seat, surrounded by 15 members of his crew. They didn't speak much. They were too exhausted. Through the small window, he could see the Indomitable floating in space, dark and broken. His ship, his home for 3 years, Pod 6 away and clear. The pilot reported over the comm. Heading to Rendezvous Point Alpha. All around them, other pods launched from the dying ship. Tiny metal seeds escaping before the harvest. Hyun-woo counted them on his heads-up display. 47 pods total, his crew of 700, scattered but alive. Captain, Ji-won said from the seat beside him. Look, she pointed out the window. In the distance, something was emerging from quantum space. It was massive, beyond understanding. The Hive Queen was not just a ship. It was a living mountain. Organic and terrible. Its surface rippled with movement, millions of smaller creatures crawling across its hide. Bioweapons studded its carapace like thorns. And at its center, Hyun-woo could see something that might have been an eye, vast and alien and full of hunger. The Earth fleet faced it without hesitation. All ships, weapons free. Dae-jung's voice came through the pod's speakers. Fire everything you've got. 20 human warships opened fire as one. Railguns, missiles, plasma cannons, and weapons Hyunwoo didn't even recognize. The void between the fleet and the Queen filled with light and fury. Tungsten rods traveling at incredible speeds struck the Queen's hide. Massive explosions rippled across its surface. The Queen screamed. Hyunwoo heard it even through the vacuum of space, transmitted through his comm system. It was a sound that made his teeth ache and his stomach churn, a sound of rage and pain. Then the Queen fired back. Organic projectiles, each one the size of a building, launched from the Queen's body. They moved with disturbing speed, guided by some alien intelligence. The Earth ships scattered, their formation breaking, but there were too many projectiles, too many targets. The Defiant took 3 hits to its forward shields. The shields flared bright, then collapsed. 2 more projectiles struck its hull. Armor plating peeled away. Atmosphere vented into space. The Defiant is hurt, Ji-won whispered, but it kept fighting. Every human ship kept fighting. They moved in ways that made no tactical sense, accepting damage to deliver killing blows. They flew close to the Queen, inside her weapon range, where their shorter-range weapons could do the most damage. It was insane. It was reckless. It was working. The Queen's surface was cratered and burning. Huge chunks of her biomass floated away into space. She was bleeding, if such a creature could bleed. But she was far from dead. "Captain, I'm picking up something," the pod pilot said. "More quantum signatures. The hive is sending reinforcements." Hyunwoo's heart sank. They couldn't fight the Queen and a fresh swarm. But the signatures weren't coming from the direction of hive space. They were coming from council space. Ships began dropping out of quantum travel. Not just a few. Dozens. Hundreds. The Korvax fleet. Reinforced and repaired. The insectoid Mika swarms. The crystalline Vel ships. The massive Toba world ships. Every council species, it seemed, had sent their fleets. And at their head was Admiral Velthar. "Human fleet." The Admiral's voice came through. Strong and clear. "The Council does not abandon its allies. We stand with Earth today. All ships, engage the Queen." The combined fleet was something out of legend. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all firing at once. The Queen was engulfed in weapons fire. Her screams grew louder, more desperate. "She's trying to escape," the pilot reported. "The Queen is charging her quantum drive. If she escaped, she would return with more swarms, more death. This had to end here." "Captain, look at the Indomitable," Ji-won said urgently. Hyunwoo turned to the window. His abandoned ship was moving. Someone was still aboard. Someone had stayed behind when everyone else evacuated. "Who's still on that ship?" Hyunwoo demanded. "Pod Bay, give me a crew manifest. Who didn't evacuate?" There was a pause. Then a voice he recognized. "This is Tae-min. Captain, I stayed behind." Quote, "Tae-min, get off that ship right now." "Can't do that, sir," the engineer said. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. "Someone needs to deliver the package." Someone needs to deliver the package. What package? But even as Hyunwoo asked, he knew. "Tae-min, no. I set up the quantum core overload like you asked," Tae-min explained. "But someone needs to guide the ship in. The navigation is shot. Can't do it remotely, so I'm flying her manually." On the display, the Indomitable was accelerating toward the Queen. The massive creature was so focused on the fleet that she didn't notice one broken human ship limping toward her. "Tae-min, you don't have to do this," Hyunwoo said. His voice broke. "We can find another way." "No time for another way, Captain. She's about to jump. If she gets away, all these people die. All those people we saved die. I can't let that happen." Tae-min paused. "You taught us that, sir." We don't abandon people in need. Please, Hyunwoo said. He wasn't above begging. Not for this. Please, there has to be another way. There isn't, Taemin said gently. And that's okay. I'm not scared, Captain. I'm glad. I'm glad I was here. I'm glad I got to help. Tell my parents I love them. Tell them I did something that mattered. Taemin, 30 seconds to impact. It's been an honor serving with you, Captain. Tell the crew I said goodbye. The Indomitable was close now. So close to the Queen. The massive creature finally noticed the approaching ship and turned her weapons toward it. But it was too late. For Earth, Taemin said. For everyone we saved. For everyone worth saving. The Indomitable struck the Hive Queen at full speed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the quantum core overloaded. The explosion was like a new sun being born. White light filled the entire system. The Queen's scream cut off mid-note. When the light faded, the Queen was gone. Just gone. Nothing remained but expanding debris. The Hive swarm, leaderless and confused, began to scatter. Without their Queen to coordinate them, they were just animals, fleeing into deep space. The Council fleet pursued them, destroying the stragglers. Inside the escape pod, no one spoke. Hyunwoo stared at the empty space where his ship had been. Where Taemin had been. The engineer was 26 years old. He loved old Earth music. He could fix anything. He made terrible jokes. He always volunteered for the worst jobs. He was gone. The evacuation is complete, Ji-won said quietly. All 3 million people are safe. The last transports are jumping to safety now. 3 million lives. One life to save 3 million. Hyunwoo knew it was a fair trade. He knew Taemin had made the right choice. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. Captain, we're being hailed by Commodore Dae-jung, the pilot said. Hyunwoo wiped his eyes. Put him through. Dae-jung's face appeared on the small screen. He looked old and tired. Captain Hyunwoo, we saw what happened. I'm sorry. Taemin was a good man. Yes, sir, he was. His sacrifice saved millions. Saved the entire Council fleet. He'll be remembered as a hero. He was already a hero, Hyunwoo said, long before today. Dae-jung nodded. The Council is offering us full honors at Veteris Prime. They want to personally thank the crew of the Indomitable. Will you accept? Hyunwoo thought about it. Then he thought about what Taemin would want. The engineer never cared about medals or ceremonies. But he cared about people. He cared about doing the right thing. Yes, sir, Hyunwoo said. We'll accept. Good. Bring your crew to the planet. There are people there who want to meet the humans who saved them. The transmission ended. The escape pod continued toward the rendezvous point, where a Council rescue ship waited to take them aboard. Around them, the battlefield grew quiet. The fighting was over. The Hive was gone. They had won. But the victory felt hollow without Taemin to share it. Captain, Ji-won said softly. He didn't die for nothing. Because of him, 3 million people get to go home. 3 million families stay together. That means something. I know, Hyunwoo said. But I still wish he was here. So do I. Through the window, Hyunwoo could see Veteris Prime. The planet was battered but intact. Its cities still stood. Its people still lived. Because one ship answered their call. Because one crew refused to let them die alone. Because one engineer made the hardest choice of all. The escape pod flew on toward the planet below, carrying Earth's heroes home to a world they had never seen. To people they had never met. To thanks they had earned 1,000 times over. And somewhere in the debris field behind them, among the wreckage of the Indomitable, Taemin's sacrifice echoed through the cosmos. A reminder that when it mattered most, one person could change everything. The landing pad at Veteris Prime Central Command was crowded with people. Thousands of them. They pressed against barriers, waving flags from dozens of different worlds. Some held signs written in languages Hyunwoo couldn't read. Others held images of the Indomitable, That broken ship that had stood between them and death. The shuttle carrying Hyun-woo and his crew touched down gently. Through the window, he could see the crowds. Their faces were alien, strange shapes and colors humans had only read about in files, but their expressions were universal: gratitude, relief, joy. "They're here for us," Yuna said, her voice full of wonder. "They're here because we showed up," Ji-won replied, "because we didn't turn away." The shuttle's ramp lowered. Hyun-woo stood, straightened his uniform, and walked toward the exit. His crew followed. They were still injured, still exhausted, but they held their heads high. They had earned this moment. Hyun-woo stepped out into the sunlight of an alien world. The crowd erupted in cheers. It was overwhelming, thousands of voices shouting in hundreds of languages. But through it all, he heard one word repeated again and again in different tongues, translated by his earpiece into something he could understand. Heroes, 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 heroes. A delegation waited at the end of the ramp. Representatives from every council species stood in formal lines. At their head was Admiral Velthar. The Korvax warrior approached Hyun-woo and performed a gesture, placing his clawed hand over his chest and bowing his head. "Captain Hyun-woo of Earth," Velthar said loudly, so the crowd could hear. "On behalf of the Galactic Council and the people of Vitaris Prime, I offer you our deepest gratitude. We called for help, and only humans answered. We did what anyone should have done," Hyun-woo replied. "But no one else did," Velthar said. "That is the difference. That is why you stand here today, as heroes." He straightened. "The Council wishes to offer Earth immediate membership. No probation. No waiting period. Full membership with all rights and privileges." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Full membership was unprecedented for such a young species. But no one protested. Not after what they had witnessed. "There's more," Velthar continued. "The Council requests human military advisors to train our forces. We wish to learn what you call adaptive combat doctrines. We wish to understand how you fight with such effectiveness, despite your limited technology." Hyun-woo glanced at Ji-won. She gave him a small nod. "Admiral, I think you're asking the wrong question." Velthar's yellow eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? You want to know our secret. You want to know how humans fight so well." Hyun-woo looked out at the crowd. "But it's not about fighting. It's about why we fight." He stepped forward, addressing not just Velthar but everyone listening. "Humans don't fight because we're stronger than you. We're not. Your technology is more advanced. Your ships are faster. Your weapons are more powerful. But we fight because we believe in something simple. When someone calls for help, you answer. No matter who they are. No matter if they've rejected you or scorned you, or told you that you're not good enough." The crowd had gone quiet, listening. "You help because it's right," Hyun-woo continued. "Because today, it's them who need saving. But tomorrow, it might be you. And when that day comes, you hope someone will come. You hope someone will care enough to try. That's our secret. That's why we're here." Velthar stared at him for a long moment. Then the Admiral did something Hyun-woo had never seen a Korvax do. He smiled. It was a strange expression on his reptilian face, showing rows of sharp teeth, but it was genuine. "You shame us, human," Velthar said. "You shame us with your courage and your compassion. We had forgotten what it means to stand for others. We had become cynical and cautious. We calculated odds instead of doing what was right." He raised his voice. "Never again. Today, the Council swears an oath. We will follow Earth's example. We will answer when others call. We will not abandon those in need." The crowd roared approval. Flags waved. Music started playing somewhere. Velthar extended his clawed hand to Hyun-woo. They shook, human and alien, warrior to warrior. "There is someone who wishes to speak with you," Velthar said. "A young one from the planet. Her family was on one of the last transports to evacuate. She insisted on being here," he gestured, and a small figure pushed through the crowd. She was a child, maybe 8 years old, with blue skin and 4 arms, one of the native species of Vitaris prime. She clutched something in her small hands. She stopped in front of Hyunwoo and looked up at him with wide eyes. Then she held out what she was carrying. It was a drawing, done in bright crayons. It showed a ship, recognizable as the Indomitable, despite the childish art. Around it were stars and planets, and stick figures holding hands. "Thank you," the child said in a small voice. "Thank you for saving my family." Hyunwoo knelt down so he was at her level. He took the drawing carefully. "You're very welcome. What's your name?" "Lyra," she said. "Thank you for this gift, Lyra. I'll treasure it always." The child smiled, then ran back to her family. Hyunwoo stood, holding the drawing. Around him, his crew had gathered. Hana was crying quietly. Yuna was trying not to cry. Even Sung-ho looked emotional. "Sir," Jiwon said softly. "Tae-min would have loved this." "Yes," Hyunwoo said. "He would have." The ceremony continued. There were speeches and presentations. The council formally welcomed Earth as a member. Commodore Daejung arrived with the rest of the human fleet, and more ceremonies followed. But through it all, Hyunwoo kept thinking about his engineer. The young man who had given everything to save people he'd never met. Later, when the sun was setting on Vitaris Prime, Hyunwoo found himself standing alone at the edge of the landing pad. The crowds had dispersed. The ceremonies were over. In the distance, he could see the city lights coming on. People returning to their normal lives. Lives they still had because of the Indomitable. "Captain," a voice said behind him. He turned. It was Admiral Velthar, accompanied by Commodore Daejung. "They've decided on a memorial," Daejung said, "for Tae-min and all the council warriors who fell defending this system. It will be built here, on this exact spot, so people never forget what was sacrificed for them." "He'd probably say a memorial was too much fuss," Hyunwoo said. "He was humble like that. Nevertheless, he will be remembered," Velthar said. "The council is creating a new medal, the Order of the Indomitable. It will be given to those who show exceptional courage in the defense of others. Your engineer will be the first recipient. Posthumously, of course." "He'd hate that too," Hyunwoo said. But he was smiling. "But thank you." "There's something else," Daejung said. "Earth Command has approved construction of a new flagship. They're going to name her the Tae-min, and they want you to captain her, Hyunwoo. They're promoting you to admiral. You'll command the new Human Council Joint Task Force." Hyunwoo looked at them both. "What task force?" "The Hive Queen is dead, but the Hive isn't," Velthar explained. "There are more swarms out there, more queens. The Council and Earth will face them together. We need someone to lead that effort. Someone who understands what it means to fight for others. Someone who proved they won't abandon people in need. Your crew would stay with you," Daejung added. G1, as your executive officer. Hana, running medical operations. Yuna, coordinating weapons. Sung-ho handling strategy. They've all agreed. Hyunwoo thought about it. About more battles to come. More risks. More chances to lose people he cared about. But he also thought about Lyra, the child with the drawing. About 3 million people who got to go home because one ship answered their call. "I accept," he said. "On one condition." "Name it," Velthar said. "We make one thing clear to everyone. Every species, every world. When they call for help, we answer. Every time. No matter the odds. No matter the cost. That's what humans do. That's what the Council needs to start doing." "Agreed," Velthar said immediately. "That is exactly what we need." They stood together in the fading light. 3 warriors from different worlds, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Hive was rebuilding. Somewhere out there, people were in danger. But now, they had hope. Now they had allies who would come when called. "The new ship won't be ready for 6 months," Daejung said. Hyunwoo smiled. "Visit Earth. See my family. Tell them about Taemin. Make sure his parents know what he did. That he died a hero. He died saving 3 million lives, Velthar said. There is no greater honor. No, Hyunwoo agreed. There isn't. The stars came out above them, countless and beautiful. Each one was a sun with planets, with people, with lives worth protecting. It was an impossible task, keeping all of them safe, but humans had never been afraid of impossible tasks. When the Taemin was ready, when the new fleet assembled, they would go back out into that darkness. They would patrol the borders. They would answer distress calls. They would stand between the innocent and the monsters, because that's what humans did. That's what the Council was learning to do. Together, they were stronger. Together, they could face anything. Earth's flagship had answered the call. Earth's last hope had arrived, and the galaxy was better for it. In 6 months, the Taemin would launch with Admiral Hyunwoo in command. His crew would be ready. The Council would be watching. And somewhere out in the dark, someone would call for help, and humans would answer. They always did. That was the promise Earth made that day on Vitaris Prime. A promise sealed in sacrifice and honored in courage. A promise that echoed through the stars like a beacon of hope. We hear you. We're coming. You are not alone. That was the message of the Indomitable. The legacy of Taemin. The oath of humanity, and it would never be broken.